And while he was out of the lineup, the Cubs were really hurting. But he homered in his return, and he is back 100%. Andre Dawson has recovered from what could have been a serious beating against San Diego, and he has got his all-star stroke back. Meanwhile, talking about all-stars, Adley Hammaker served up a grand slam in the all-star game in '84 when he had a bad arm. He does not have a bad arm now. The Hardly Ables are back, the Giants and the Cubs.
The National Broadcasting Company, now in its 7th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's majesty. And baseball's magical moments. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week.
Today from Candlestick Park, the Chicago Cubs versus the San Francisco Giants. The Game of the Week is brought to you by Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Centers. By the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevy trucks. By Northwest Airlines, look who gives you more of the world from more of the USA. And by AC Delco, the smart parts. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Candlestick Park. The Cubs find themselves 9 games back of the Cardinals. Bob Denier is out with a groin pull. Jody Davis is playing on a broken toe. Think they can catch the Cardinals?
I don't think anybody can catch the Cardinals the way they're playing, because they can make too many runs. They can't. With that ball club, they're not going to go into a long slump. And Dawson can't do any better in the second half than he's done in the first half. Sutcliffe has given us some hope, but I think the Cardinals have it.
And realistically, I guess, as an outsider, looking at the recent trade the Cubs made, you might say that they were actually trading for the future when they dealt away Steve Trout to the Yankees.
Well, this would be the time to do it, and they did it, and I couldn't agree with you more. It's for the future, and it's for next year, although they're not making any concession speeches. You just have to look at the standings, and you see what's happening.
Meanwhile, the San Francisco Giants made a deal, among others getting Dave Gravecki and Craig Lefferts to bolster up their pitching, because they indeed still feel they have a chance. They're only 4 back of the Reds.
Well, they have a chance. They have a better chance, certainly, than the Cubs to win their division. But, you know, Vin, reading in the paper, it's almost like they need a good weatherman here. They have problems here at Candlestick.
Problems indeed. You can sum that up easily by saying this: the Giants have lost 11 of their last 14 at home. We'll get to the starting lineups and of all the pregame stats and stories, all coming up right after this.
In the event of an emergency, fans hitting the
Here's the way the Giants will line up on defense. It's Jeffrey Leonard, Eddie Milner, and Aldretti in the outfield. Aldretti playing for the injured Candy Maldonado. Candy started to take some batting practice, although he just used the one hand, the left arm, because of the broken finger. He'll be out another 3 or 4 weeks. Mitchell, Uribe, Thompson, Clark in the infield. Brenly is behind the plate, and Hammaker is the pitcher.
Well, Adley Hammaker, to talk about him, we could talk about the mound, I guess, as we look at it. But Hammaker is 4-7. He is 3-7 in 12 starts, and the Giants now take the field. The Chicago Cubs, they've won 2 on this road trip. They've split 10 games with San Francisco, and they've won 3 out of 4 here at Candlestick. So it's interesting. The Cubs have done very well in San Francisco, and the Giants have done very well in Chicago. Here's the lineup for the Cubs. Bob Denier opening up in center field, and Ryne Sandberg at second base. Denier suffered a groin pull Thursday night, unable to play yesterday, and then just a few minutes ago, he is in there in center field. So then Sandberg, Andre Dawson in right, Brian Dayette in left, Keith Moreland at third base, Manny Trio at first with a left-hander Adley Hammaker going, so Leon Durham sits down. Jody Davis behind the plate. Paul Noche will be at shortstop, And Maddox, the pitcher, he's 5-7, 1-0 against the Giants this year and lifetime. Adley Hammaker twice has had surgery for a torn rotator cuff. You might remember he was a wonderful pitcher, but by the time he got to the All-Star game in 1984, he had a sore arm. Didn't tell very many people about it. Insisted on pitching with the sore arm, and will forever have the albatross around his neck that he served up the only Grand Slam home run in All-Star history. But those who know him know that it was more of a heroic act rather than one where he would wear the horns of a goat. So Hammaker trying to come back, and he is 4-7, 0-1 against the Cubs, 3-4 lifetime, and he's lost 3 straight.
Then he gives his wife Jenny a lot of credit for coming back on his injury. Talking to him in the clubhouse, he said that in other injuries, he said, I would try to do everything that everybody told me, but with this, it was so serious. She sat him down and said, look, you do what the doctor tells you, and that's it. And he stayed with that, and he's come back very, very strong. The big difference in him, I think it's with all injuries. You really appreciate what you have now. And he's bearing down more on, for example, helping himself feel his position, holding runners on. And he's coming inside the right-hand hitters. Just a short time to Dravecki's over here, that's influenced him. So he's a little bit different pitcher, and he's got 4 pitches now instead of 2.
You know, with all of his problems with the arm, about a year ago, he suddenly began to lose weight. And no matter what they did, they couldn't seem to stop it. And he just couldn't pitch at all. So it's really nice to see Adley Hammaker fight his way back and make it as a starting pitcher. And now we'll see how he goes against the Chicago Cubs. Bob Dernier, who's hurting, as we said, with a groin pull, but he's tough. He doesn't want to sit it out. He's hitting .369. So Dernier, followed by Sandberg and then Dawson. Jody Davis is in the lineup. He's had a broken right toe and refuses to give ground. So here we go. Little breaking ball outside, ball 1. Two balls and no strikes, the count to Bob Dernier. And Adley Hammaker, who has lost 6 of his last 7 decisions. Dernier, at the other end of the 60 feet 6 inches, a very hot hitter. That's on the corner. Dernier, in his last 19 starts, is hitting over 400. And he has 6 3-hit games. So when he's hot, he stays hot. Little nubber back towards the box. Hammaker picks it up, nails it. So Dernier hits back to the box, 1 away. That is the scouting report on Adley Hammaker.
Second, number 23, second baseman, Ryan Sandberg.
He had a fastball slider, and now he's throwing a little bit of a split finger, and he's changing speeds. But his problem is inconsistency. He says, some days when I walk out there, I just feel like a different guy, and I'm just not as consistent as I used to be before injuries.
All-star Ryan Sandberg coming up. Ground ball wide to third, into the hole, base hit. So Sandberg, who is hitting better than .290 at Candlestick Park in his career, comes up and gets a base hit into left field, and that will bring up Andre Dawson. So the Prince Valiant of the Cubs is at first base, and now the big guy.
Number 8, right fielder.
Dawson has been wearing out the Giants, whether he's with Montreal or Chicago. He needs 1 home run for 250 in his career. He has a 10-game hitting streak. He's got 20 career home runs against the Giants. And Hammaker watching Sandberg. High pop fly into left field. Coming down for it is Leonard, but going out for it is Uribe, and it's going to land in front of the diving Milner, but they're still going to get a force play because there was no place for Sandberg to go. And if you've never been to Candlestick, that makes it official. We're checking to see about Dawson at first base. He thought, I think the ball was caught, and he's out. Have you ever seen a double play like this one outside of the Magic Castle at Disneyland? That drops in, but it's recovered. They're going to get a forced play at second, and Dawson, who didn't go all the way, thinking it was a catch, is doubled at first. Ah, pull up a chair. You might smile like Candy Maldonado. Welcome to Candlestick. No score. The first inning after a wacky beginning. Eddie Milner leading off in center field. Mike Aldretti in right field and Jeff Leonard in left. Will Clark hitting cleanup at first. Bob Brenly behind the plate. Kevin Mitchell at third base. Rob Thompson at second. Jose Uribe at short. And Adley Hammaker the pitcher. And trying to stop the Giants will be Greg Maddux, 5-7. He beat the Giants in Wrigley Field 8-4. Maddux is the youngest player in the National League. He's 21 years old. He is the second youngest player in the major leagues. And that's a strike to Milner. Eddie Correa of Texas is 15 days younger than Greg Maddux. The Giants using a lot of leadoff men. They've had 10 different leadoff men this year. But of course the Giants have been wheeling and dealing. They've had 38 different players wearing a Giant uniform, including 17 different pitchers, 9 starters. They've made 60 roster moves already this year. 1-2 the count to Eddie Milner. Gene Michael saw the Cubs in a very wacky introduction here at the House of the Wind, and if you're keeping score, that double play went 7-4-3. On that play, Andre Dawson, evidently thinking that the ball was caught, failed to go to first. In fact, in double checking with the scoring, because we were watching the ball, the play wound up going 7-4-2. So Andre Dawson, who knows the peaks, finds out all about the valleys today. Fouled away. Still 1-2.
It's not a high sky here, but Uribe never did see that ball. And I'll say this, Milner tried all the way from center field. There you see the clouds that help, but Uribe just couldn't find it, and it turned into a real Halloween play.
1-2 the count. Eddie Milner. Little number up along first base. Maddux will take care of him. One away. Take a look at the Cubs with the leather.
It'll be Diane in left field. Dernier is in center field. He got a little bit of a groin pull, as Ben told you, so it may cut down a bit. Dawson is in right field. Marlon Noche, what a versatile ball player he's turned out to be. It's shortstop Sandberg. Trios at first base with the left-hander going. Durham Arrest, Davis and Maddux.
Here's Mike Aldretti hitting .319 in the number 2 slot. He one of the 9 different leadoff men. Aldretti, in 11 starts since Candy Maldonado was injured, is hitting .375 as he tries to pick up the slack. The difference, of course, Aldretti is not a power hitter. He has just 1 home run over that stretch and a half a dozen RBIs. Maldonado, prior to his injury, had a dozen home runs, 48 RBIs, and Candy was hitting over .330. Ball 2.
They're going to put Maldonado into a special nutritional and fitness clinic beginning Monday, I believe it is. And they said it'd be for 4 weeks. And when they said 4 weeks, he said, no, I'll be ready in 3 weeks.
And they're going to take that special cast off and see if they can't get the thumb. He injured it here on a game of the week, going after a ball in the right field corner when he ran into the wall. And you might have caught a glimpse of Candy with a big grin on his face, obviously enjoying the discomfort of Andre Dawson. And there he is, walking with that hand heavily wrapped. 3-1. And it's ball 4 to Mike Aldretti. So Greg Maddux, 5-7 with the league, and he'll now be working on Jeff Leonard.
Batting third. 0-0.
Jeff Leonard, like Dawson and Sandberg, a National League All-Star. He is such a good hitter. He's gone hitless for 2 straight games, only 3 times this year. Aldretti at first, held on by Manny Trio.
They're working on Maddox's move. Now, he's got, I think, 6 balks already, so he's having some problems with that move to first base. Doesn't have any trick pitches. Fastball, curve, change of speeds on his fastball.
The chances are we might see a balk today. That's hammered into right field for a base hit. Dawson with that shotgun, so stopping at second is Aldretti. Not only does Maddox have 6 balks, Hammaker has 4. And, of course, in the National League, they call almost twice as many balks as they have been doing in the National League.
Number 22.
With the 6 balks, Maddox leads the major leagues in balks. And if you were just wondering about a rather obscure record, the most balks by a pitcher in one season, Steve Carlton had 11. 2 on, 1 out in the first inning. And the batter now, Will Clark. Clark had an 11-game hitting streak snapped last Thursday, and interestingly enough, that was the day that Davy Johnson announced the selections, other than the starters, for the All-Star team, and of course Will Clark was not on that team, ball 1. And from that moment, he has gone 0 for 17.
He feels he's swinging the bat, but they're just not falling in. He doesn't think it's anything mechanical at all. He's got a positive outlook.
He has never done well against the Chicago Cubs, even though he is a solid hitter, hitting .304 against the league. The Cubs have thrown a blanket over him. Not only this year, he's hitting only .160 against the Cubs this year. He's hitting only .180 against the Cubs in his career. 2 balls and no strikes. The count to Will Clark. Aldretti and Leonard on the base paths with 1 out. And that's hit to dead center. Denier, a full turn to the track to make the catch. And the runners have to scamper back. So Clark hits it hard and deep, and the wind is blowing from right to left, and it could very well have cut that ball down a little bit. It's 400 to straightaway center. And it plays a big part in any ball hit in the air here.
Or if you're wondering if he's a low ball hitter, that'd tell you something. He hit the ball hard, and which is what he said before the game. I'm just not having any luck. Denier, a full turn, but he's a good outfielder, and he still had some more room.
They have had tremendous winds, high velocity winds in the San Francisco area, not necessarily just at Candlestick Park. It affected air traffic in the area, but now it is settled down. So Bob Brenly, the catcher, coming up. Brenly's hit in 10 straight games.
I asked him about that. He said if DiMaggio's listening, tell him not to worry for about another week or so.
Oh, that reminds me. In mentioning DiMaggio, that's something I was just going to mention along the way today. You know, there's making a tremendous fuss, and rightfully so. Don Mattingly has hit a home run in 7 straight games, and he set the record last night on July 17th. July 17th was the day when Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak came to an end. So one ended, and now another memorable Yankee streak is in the books. Of course, Joe's was 46 years ago. 1-1 the count to Bob Brenly. Maddox on a walk and a base hit finally got Clark for the second out. 2 balls, 1 strike. Bob Melvin is on the disabled list. A knee and ankle injury in a collision with Jack Clark. Mackey Sasser was called up, but it looks like Bob Brenly's going to do the bulk of the work behind the plate. We talked before about the Giants and all their roster moves. One reason is because of the DL. The Giants have had 11 players on the DL. 3-1 the count to Bob Brenly. No score, bottom of the first inning. We're just starting. And that's hammered to left, hooking down the line, and goes foul. So Maddox dodged a bullet there. Brenly, with 9 home runs, 23 RBIs, sends a souvenir into the left field corner, but only a souvenir.
That's a favorite bat that he's using. He's got about 6 boxes of bats atop his locker. And I said, man, what do you do with all those bats? He said, decoration. I only have one. I've been using it for about a month now, and that's it.
Well, that one has gotten him his 10-game hitting streak. 3-2 and a fake. The runners, of course, will be ready to go. Bill Fahey coaching at first. Don Zimmer at third, shepherding the runners. On deck, Kevin Mitchell. Runners go. Change is hit into left center, and that's going to loop for a base hit. The run is over, and the Giants lead 1-0 as Leonard goes to third. 11 straight for Bob Brenly.
Looked like the pitch might have been out of the strike zone, but
Number 9,
the strike zone, you don't get that particular. Let's see exactly where it is. It was high.
Just a straight change.
Yeah,
the 3-2 pitch.
Took something off it and got it in a terrible spot. That's one thing you don't want to do, is throw that change up high. And you can see Jody Davis, now Herm Starrett out there, probably just settling him down. Say, hey, okay, you made a mistake. Forget about it. You still got 2 guys on and bear down on Mitchell.
For the Giants to get out in front 1-0, trying to shake themselves. The Giants have lost 5 out of 6, 6 out of 11, and even more so, somewhat shockingly, considering how good they played at Candlestick last year. This year, they've lost 11 of the last 14. They're second best in the National League on the road. Boy, they've done everything wrong at home. So Roger Craig with Norm Sherry, his pitching coach, they're illustrating what happened last year. 11 games over 500, and this year 8 games under. That's some swing. 19 games. And here's Kevin Mitchell, one of the newly acquired Giants. 4-1. And the big deal with Kevin Mitchell, Dave Dravecky, and Craig Lefferts coming from San Diego. When the Giants traded away Chris Brown, it was not only an indication that they wanted Kevin Mitchell, but they also feel secure that Matt Williams is developing nicely. Foul back. And Jody Davis bitten by that. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. The Giants, since that trade, are 5-6. So they've not really made any definite move. Jamie Moyer throwing down in the bullpen. Bob Tewksbury, who's going to pitch Monday, just stopped throwing. Tewksbury recently acquired in the Steve Trout deal with the Yankees. Boy, Maddox is busy out there faking, isn't he? Wow.
Every time I see a pitcher do that, I wonder, who do they really fake?
Yeah, right. So Brenly holding at first, Leonard at third. 1-0 Giants first inning. Hard slider, but he missed with it. 2-1 to count to Kevin Mitchell. Mitchell is looking for his first hit of this series. 0 for 9. Kevin from San Diego. And as you can see, they've had 11 on the DL, 60 roster moves, 10 leadoff men, and 9 third basemen. You really need a program up here. Fouled away off first base and out of play, and the count 2-2. Remember the last time we were up here, we were talking about how every time you change the park, they change the park. They've done the changes with the park. Now they're changing the players.
Well, the real collector's item here is a picture of the park and the team picture.
That's right. And dated.
That's right. It's good for about maybe 20, 30 minutes.
There are the dimensions now. 335, 365, and 400. So deuce is wild on Kevin Mitchell. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 1 in, and Maddox is still at it. He is the busiest pitcher in town.
He must have got a dance book from Fred Astaire or something, and he just wants to practice it.
Well, he's only 21.
I don't blame him.
And there's a fly ball up in the wind to right center. Denier with the shades down, makes it and drops it. In comes Leonard, in comes Brenly, going to third is Mitchell. And the Cubs are indeed welcome to Candlestick Park.
It looked like he just never had that ball for sure. He's looking, and he's just not sure of it, and he's not sure of where he is. He kind of a little bit of a stumble there, and hit right off his fingertips.
And you saw his sunglasses reflecting the sun. He looked a little bit like little Orphalani. For Denier, an excellent outfielder, that is his first error of the year, and what a killer. So instead of the third out, it allows 2 runs to come in. And you know, if an outfielder is going to make his first error of the year, it figures to be right here at Candlestick.
He might have thought he had more room.
Ball 1 to Rob Thompson, hitting .239. Mitchell, of course, not getting an RBI. That should have been the third out. But it is 3-0 San Francisco. What an inning for Chicago. And there's a dunker into right center, and it makes it 4-0. For the Cubs, this is the kind of a day where you want to hold your hands up and say, time. Let's go back to the hotel and start it all over again.
You'd like to put the rewind button on and start it over, because on defense they had, as you called it, Vin, a Disneyland inning, and I mean on offense, and now on defense the same thing. He just gets jammed with this pitch, doesn't hit it hard at all.
So the Giants are enjoying a slapstick first inning. And it is 4-0 San Francisco, and Jose Uribe, who's paid a visit to the DL, coming up to the plate. Uribe hitting .274. Switch hitter, and a very consistent one. He's hitting .273 left-handed, .276 right-handed. Interestingly enough, too, when Jack Clark went to St. Louis, he's the only player left from that trade. David Green, Gary Regick, and Dave LaPointe. And, of course, LaPointe is back up again. 4-0 San Francisco. Uribe, the 8th man to come to the plate. So first, on a windblown pop fly, the Cubs run into a double play. And then you have Denier drop a windblown fly ball, and that's a 3-run play, as it turns out. Instead of the inning over 1-0 Giants, they're still hitting and leading 4-0. And there goes the runner, and it's fouled off. So Rob Thompson, who has stolen 8 out of 12, going on the pitch. And once again, we'd like to remind our viewers, we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ballgame.
Looks like he can get a pretty good jump off Maddox. Watch him when he comes set. He almost like fingers that ball even after he's in the set position. Once he starts that, he's got to come to the plate.
I think he's been psyched, too, with a half a dozen balks called on him. I mean, that, I think, would intimidate a veteran pitcher, never mind a kid.
You're going to be a little more careful because you figure Big Brother's watching you. He's made 29 pitches this inning. It's been a long one for him.
Yeah, Manny Trio, Ryan Sandberg, Paul Noche, and Keith Moreland on the infield. Ryan Dayette, Bob Denier, and Andre Dawson in the outfield.
He's right on the borderline of a balk, man. He starts to throw much before he takes a step.
And there goes Thompson, and a pitch out is dropped by Jody Davis. Well, I'll be. Now, if you're, I don't care if you're a professional or not, you got to sit in the dugout and say, you know what, this might not be our day.
That pitch out, and I'm surprised. Jody tries to make a one-hand grab of. Now, he moves. He gets it out there in good shape. Now, look at here. And, I mean, he closed that glove before the ball got there. Somebody's got a voodoo doll out on him.
Oh, what a way to start. We should point out, though, you know, among other things, on the 8th of July, the Cubs were really down, but they were home. There's a drive to right, hooking foul and out of play. The Cubs were trailing San Diego 7-0, and in one of the better comeback games of the year, they turned around and got off the floor and beat San Diego 12-8. But again, they were at home. 2-2, the count to Jose Uribe. Thompson at second base with the stolen base, and Uribe trying to pick him up. 4-0 Giants, first inning. It's like after you tell a joke and it goes flat and somebody always says, I guess you had to be there. Well, if you weren't with us in this first inning, you really had to be here. 2-2, the count to Uribe. Ball 3.
I really think you ought to recap it.
After Andre Dawson failed to run out a fly ball single, 4-0 Giants.
The sportscaster uttered.
3-2. And that's whacked down the right field line, hooking in the corner. Fair ball. So that makes Dernier's error a 4-run error. And it is 5-0 San Francisco. So Rob Thompson comes in on the double by Uribe. And for Gene Michael, time to back up the team bus for the moment. But for Bob Dernier, he's got to be saying to himself, boy, that's great. That's just terrific. I make my first error of the year on national television, and it opens up the dike. It can be a humbling game.
It really can.
Oh, wow. Well, here's Adley Hammaker, who has struck out almost half the time, but he does have 2 runs batted in and 4 hits.
He's got a good chance of putting an end to the rally.
Yes. 1 ball, no strikes. A little chopper to third. Moreland. And there it is, friends. The final out of the first inning. 9 men come to the plate, and the Giants pick up 5. And at the end of an inning, Giants 5, Cubs nothing. You know, we were talking about how the Giants won so many games at Candlestick last year and how this year they can't get on track. The first inning might remind Giant fans particularly how things can go their way in this ballpark. Because in the first inning, the Giants missed a fly ball, turned it into a double play. The Cubs missed the fly ball, and 4 additional runs come over. Tough place.
It really is. And you can see Dernier was fighting that sun all the way. He just plain dropped it.
Well, we'll see now if the Cubs can come back. Brian Dayette will start it off. Dayette hitting .316 with 4 home runs. One ball and 1 strike to count. Dayette followed by Keith Moreland and then Manny Trio. Breaking ball up. Dayette has been a very tough hitter against left-hand pitching. And Brian has 4 home runs and 13 RBIs against lefties. Which is why he's in there, and the count now 2-2.
Hammaker said before his injury that he would just go out there and throw it and let it go, and whatever happened, happened. He said, now I'm just a little more conscious of the hitters and pay more attention at the meetings. You got a better idea.
Just missed, so leading 5-0, he goes to a full count to Brian Dayette leading off the inning. Dayette's been getting on base almost half the time for over a month. And he's aboard, and that'll go to the screen. And Dayette jogging to first. So the Cubs get another base runner. In the first inning, Sandberg singled. Dawson hit a fly ball that Uribe couldn't pick up. The wind took it away from Milner. Milner dived and got his glove on the ball, and I guess from where Andre Dawson was, he thought the ball was caught, so he never went the 90 feet. And the ball was picked up by Rob Thompson, who ran and stepped on second and threw to Bob Brenly at first base for a weird double play. So now in the second with Dayette at first, here is Keith Moreland. The next home run he hits will be number 100 in his career. Moreland moved from right field to third base this year, and he has played in every game. However, it's really been a fight for him. He's committed 18 errors while trying to learn third base. And Adley Hammaker now is in a jam, and Norm Sherry going out to the mound to talk to him. 2 balls and no strikes after walking Dayette.
Well, you have to be concerned. Got a 5-run lead. The name of the game now is throw strikes, give somebody a chance to make a play for you. Not to be aiming that ball, not that he looks like he is, but just throw some strikes. That's the concentration.
You know, when Norm Sherry found out that the Giants had made the deal with San Diego, he had to be happy because He was a member of the National League champion Padres team in 1984 when Dave Dravecky and Craig Lefferts pitched the Padres to the pennant. So Sherry now has two fellows he is really familiar with back under his wing. 2 balls and no strikes. The count to Keith Moreland. Brian Dayette at first, nobody out in the second inning. 5-0 Giants. And he missed again. 3-0 the count. On deck, Manny Trio. And Trio's been blazing hot. That's a strike. The Cubs, #1 in the National League in home runs. They've hit 119 home runs. One reason why they're not ever out of a game. And there's a line drive, base hit into center. Dayette had a hole thinking maybe Uribe would flag it. You realize that the Cubs have had 5 batters come to the plate, and 4 of them should have reached.
Fastball, and Moreland really hit that ball hard. You can see it coming right at you with our center field camera. Uribe gave it a good shot,
Batting 6.
but it was by him.
Number 19, first baseman.
So with 2 on and nobody out here in the second inning, Keith Moreland line single to center. Dayette is now at second, and here's Manny Trio. Since June the 1st, Manny has been hitting better than .400. And in his last 12 starts, he's hitting better than .500. On the corner for a strike. Randy Marsh, the plate umpire. Paul Runge, Joe West, and Bob Engel working the bases. So it would appear like the Cubs have the right man up there in the right spot, trying to get back in the game. 5-0 Giants. Top of the second. Popped up, foul, heading for the stands, and out of play. 0-2. We'll use the time and pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
This is KWQC in Davenport, the sports leader in the Quad Cities.
For the moment, at least, Candlestick is almost becalmed. Barely a zephyr stirring the flags out in center field. Giants 5-0, and the Cubs with 2 on and nobody out against Atlee Hammaker. 0-2. Busted bat, ground ball to Thompson. He feeds Uribe. He doubles him at first. So Hammaker saws a bat and a half in the hands of Manny Trio. Dayette has reached third, but with 2 out, and Jody Davis will be coming out.
The slider hit it off the end of the bat. Looked like Thompson might take the play himself, but wisely gives it to Uribe, who's throwing towards the bag. He just came across an easy double play.
The Giants have turned the most double plays in the National League. 114 double plays. Of course, there's a lot of things you can interpret from that. Good infield, good defense, but also an awful lot of base runners. They've had 2 double plays today. And with Dayette at third, here's Jody Davis. Jody with a broken toe, all they can do is tape it and turn him loose. Now that's got to be a tough day, playing with a broken toe.
Hoping you don't get that foul tip to hit you on that bad bunion.
And he promptly hits it into left field. Coming up is Leonard to make the catch. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left at the end of an inning and a half. 5-0 Giants. This date in baseball, 60 years ago today, Mel Ott hit his first Major League home run against the Cubs at the Polo Grounds, and it was an inside-the-park home run for the then 18-year-old who would hit 511 home runs and be immortalized for his years with the Giants, and the memory lingers even here at Candlestick. Melvin Thomas Ott from Gretna, Louisiana, the pride and joy of John McGraw.
Boy, with that batting stance where he cocked that front leg up, he really was the guy you pointed to when you say, hey, if a guy can hit, don't fool with the stance.
In fact, that was what John McGraw did when he saw Ottie at about 17 years old. He refused to send him out to the minor leagues because he knew someone well-meaning, well-intentioned, would try to change that stance in the minor leagues and ruin him. So McGraw said, he sits next to me. What a career. Eddie Milner, Mike Aldrete, and Jeff Leonard. On this date in 1979, Bruce Sutter was then pitching for the Chicago Cubs, and he was the winning pitcher in the All-Star game. And there's one hit to straightaway center, and Denier's going to have to play it on a bounce. So Milner, fly ball, single to center field. 5 runs, 5 hits for the Giants, albeit 4 of the 5 runs unearned. They'll take them, and Mike Aldrete coming up.
And with Roger Craig, the manager of the Giants, you saw him running that first inning. He's got Milner on. Even though it is a 5-0 score, that doesn't mean that they're going to play station to station.
Mike Aldrete walked in the first inning. One ball and no strikes. Five runs, 5 hits, and no errors. For the Cubs, no runs, 2 hits, and an error. Aldrete's from one of the more beautiful places in the world. He was born in Carmel, California, not too far away. And there goes Milner, and the throw way offline. A great save by Paul Noce, or he's on his way to third.
He really had to hurry that throw because Milner had a tremendous jump. Once, as we pointed out, Maddox started to finger that ball. Milner just took off. I mean, he's gone. He's got 4 steps right there, and Jody knows he's going to have to get rid of it in a hurry. He didn't have much of a chance at all.
So with a runner at second base and nobody out in the second inning, 5-0 San Francisco. And look at Noce making a great defensive play. 2-0.
And did you see on that slide where Milner was going for? He was going for the corner of that bag. He was just going to give the infielder a hand to tag, and he was going to have to reach for it.
The Cubs are unable to balance their books as far as the running game is concerned. That's right. By that, I mean the Cubs themselves have stolen 68 bases. That's not that many. But the opposition over 100 now. The Giants are not a running team either. And the Giants have 61 stolen bases, 1 ahead of the Atlanta Braves. 3-1 to Mike Aldrete. And he bangs it into right center. Here's Milner around third. Bob Denier makes the throw, but it is way offline, and it wasn't cut off. So Denier is having a terrible day out there.
He threw it right over Trio's head, and there was no chance to make the play with Milner running. So what he did was give him an extra base and take away that double play situation. It was not a good throw at all.
The cutoff man is Manny Trio. And the throw isn't even in Trio's neighborhood.
Jeffrey Leonard.
He had no chance to get Milner. You can see Zimmer was waving him on from the time that ball was hit. And that's a big base to pick up.
I bet you Michael is steaming as he chews his gum. Ed Lynch is now throwing in the bullpen. And the batter is Jeff Leonard. 6-0 San Francisco in the second inning. Breaking ball up, ball 1. The Cubs are doing fairly well with the Giants. They've split 10 games. When trying to catch the Cardinals, they have been buried going head-to-head against the Cardinals. Cardinals have beaten the Cubs 9 out of 12 times. The Giants feel that they can still catch Cincinnati, and you can understand why. They've had 6 meetings with the Reds, and they've split the 6, so they're holding their own. Here's the Western Division, and since May the 5th, would you believe Cincinnati, Houston, and San Francisco are playing under 500 since the 5th of May. 1-1. Good fastball. That was one of the better pitches that Maddox had made. Leonard didn't get around on it. In the East, look at the high-flying Cardinals. 26 games above 500. Montreal, surprisingly playing very well. 8 back. And, of course, last year's world champion Mets struggling 9.5 back. Mike Aldrete waiting to be picked up at second base. A run over, nobody out. 6-0 Giants. We're in the second. 1-2. And Leonard, after getting a good inside fastball, chases the breaking ball and strikes out.
That's the curveball. He's got it in a good spot. Ahead of the hitter, he puts it outside the zone. Leonard trying to at least get a piece of it, misses it, and it's his big out for Maddox.
That was right out of the ideal scouting report. Fastball, high and inside, breaking ball down and away.
That's the way you go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. A little late right now. 6-0 San Francisco. And here's Will Clark, who flied to center in the first inning. By the way, Greg Maddux is due to bat second when the Cubs hit in the third inning, so Lynch might very well be loosening up because they're going to use a hitter. Fouled away.
Boy, I like the attitude of these good hitters when they don't get the hits. They just will not refer to it as a slump. I mean, just will not give in to it psychologically.
He hit the ball hard in the first inning. Just an out. Another ground ball to the right side. Sandberg is on it. On the play, Aldrete takes third, and we have 2 down. And Bob Brenly, who kept his streak alive with a base hit to drive in the first run in the first inning. Brenly has hit in 11 straight. That was that. It appeared to be a bad pitch. A 3-2 change up, and Brenly singled to drive in the run. And then Mitchell at the fly ball engineer dropped it, and the merry-go-round came right off its mooring. Aldrete at third, 2 out, 6-0 San Francisco. 4-1. Of course, for the Giants, there is a very sobering fact. And even though they might be inclined to feel loose and easy today, memory tells them tighten up. Memory tells them not to take anything for granted because they've had some painful experiences this year. You know, the Giants have lost 8 games this year with only 3 outs to go. 8. And of course, they came into the game trailing by 4. After winning their first 10 one-run games, the Giants have lost 14 of their next 21 run games. So they're not too happy about any score until it's over. Foul tip, 1-2.
Brenly's not making any more of his Wild West statements.
No. 1-2. Kick their butts, drink their beer, and steal their women.
Steal their women. Yeah. And they went in a big losing
And the wheels came off the wagon.
Oh, man. They had to circle the wheels, not the wagon.
He's a dandy. 1-2 to Bob Brenly. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He's my prospect for a broadcaster.
Brenly.
Brenly,
Yeah.
yes, sir. I think he's going to be a broadcaster when he's finished. Of course, he's working on DiMaggio's streak right now.
That's
he's
right.
Only got, what, 44 more to go?
45.
45.
2-2. Fouled away.
Well, when you think of that, that's incredible. And you stop to think that the base on balls, you know, you could have walked him and stopped it. Now he had to widen the zone. That's an incredible feat.
56 straight. 2-2. And got him. No high change. It was a high fastball to punch him out. However, the Giants get a run on 2 hits and a man left. And at the end of 2, Giants 6, Cubs nothing. We'll be right back after these messages from you. We're going to the third inning with the Giants leading the Cubs 6-0. The Cubs will have Paul Noche, and Luis Quinones is out on deck to bat for Maddux. So it'll be Noche, Quinones, and Dernier. Adley Hammaker leading by half a dozen. However, Sandberg singled, and Dawson would have had a windblown single except for the jam in the first inning. Dayette walked, and Moreland singled, but then Trio hit into a double play. The point being that, at least for the moment, Hammaker is not really in control of the game, not by any means. So here's Noche, hitting .279 and playing exceptionally well. with the regular shortstop, Sean Dunston, out. In fact, Noche did a wonderful job, he and Mike Brumley, while Sandberg and Dunston were both out. 3 home runs, 12 RBIs for Paul. 0-2 slider.
Really had that in a good spot. If Noche hits that ball, he hits a little dribbler to Mitchell. Two. Fouled off to the on-deck hitter and pinch hitter Luis Quinones. And Ed Lynch tuning up in the Cub bullpen, so he'll be pitching to the Giants in the bottom of the 3rd. And 2. So it's still 1-2 the count to Paul Noche. We were showing you the standings before, and an interesting point about the St. Louis Cardinals, who are 26 games above 500. The fact that they are manufacturing so many runs, it could be a rather historic year. Down goes Noche on a fastball away. Strikeout number 1 for Adley Hammaker, and the batter will be Luis Quinones. He just rears back and throws a strike, something on it, out over the plate. Seemed to be the kind of a ball that maybe Noche could punch out there, but just didn't get it.
1 away, and here's Quinones.
Number 28, Luis Quinones.
Quinones, a switch hitter, brought up from Iowa. They still have another switch hitter on the bench, Jerry Mumphrey. Ball 1. To conclude the thought on the Cardinals, they are leading the major leagues in runs scored. And at first glance, it doesn't mean anything. There's a drive to center. Starting in was Milner. He has to go back to flag it. 2 down. So Quinones hit the ball pretty hard. But the thing about the Cardinals, since the inception of the designated hitter in the American League, and that's back in 1972, no National League team has ever led the majors in runs scored this late in the season. But that Cardinal machine is that good that they're scoring more runs than even American League teams with the DH.
I tell you, Jim Murray had a column on the Cardinals, was just a classic. He said they're all clones. Everybody's a switch hitter, and it's really a 3-man roster. They keep switching uniforms.
And a pun intended, I guess, but Whitey does have the cards. You want to play with him, you better have a hot hand. 1-0. It was an interesting point, too. It shows you what happens when you have speed in the lineup. Ozzie Smith has like 45 RBIs. Just about half of those runs batted in, he knocked in Vince Coleman, who can score during the anthem if you don't keep an eye on it. Right. 2-1.
Well, didn't Guerrero say, he said, even during the national anthem, you look up, the bases are loaded, and Jack Clark is batting.
That's right.
That'll scare you.
2-1. Ground ball to the right side, and there's Rob Thompson, and that takes care of Denier, and the Cubs are gone 1-2-3 at the end of 2.5 innings. Giants 6, Cubs nothing. Can I have a sip? Don't take a lot. Just a little more. Don't take too much now.
He really had to beg for it. She wouldn't give him any, and he was looking right at her, please. And finally, she gave him a sip. What a face.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, man.
There's a score and a story. Mike Flanagan, who's had all kinds of problems, sent out to the minors for rehab, brought back, starting today, and winning 3-1 for Baltimore in the 5th inning. Ed Lynch taking over now for the Cubs. Eddie is 1-6. Only made 5 starts, and since they put him in the bullpen, he's picked up 4 saves. And he'll be pitching to Kevin Mitchell, Rob Thompson, and Jose Uribe. Mitchell hit the fly ball that was dropped by Bob Denier and turned out to be a killer. It turned the 1-0 first inning into a 5-0 first inning.
Lynch can really change speeds. If he's got his good stuff, he'll get some ground balls because he does throw a sinker.
0-1. Little breaking ball in the count. 0-2. Kevin Mitchell, you saw those numbers before. From the All-Star game last year to the end of the year, he hit in the 230s, and then he hasn't been hitting this year. So really, for a year now, he's been struggling with the bat. Fouled away. 0-2. He is in a current 0-for-10 slump. And Kevin said maybe it was too much to go back to his hometown. When the Mets traded him to San Diego, he went back to San Diego. He's kind of a street kid. Lived with his grandmother. And naturally, with his friends around, he just felt there were too many distractions. So we'll see if he blossoms here in San Francisco. And, of course, you know all about playing in your hometown.
I don't recommend it.
Strike 3 called. So Mitchell continues to struggle, and Gene May knows all about struggling as he looks on, and Lynch picks up his first man.
It's like he catches the outside corner. Lynch has good control. He's not going to get himself in trouble, no doubt about it.
Second
I could
baseman,
elaborate just a bit why I said it so quickly, Ben. For one thing, everybody went to school with you. Everybody went to school with your brother, your family, worked with your father, they all won tickets, baseballs, call you all hours of the night, and if you don't do it, you're a real ironhead, and that's where it begins.
Here's Rob Thompson, and it's a strike. Did you also find that you subconsciously, or even you were aware of it, tried too hard at home because you had people you knew in the stands?
No question about it. You try too hard. And the other thing is, I think I'm the only guy who went to the big leagues, never got a hit on the playground.
1-1.
Everybody comes up to you. I remember you. I used to strike you out all the time. And you say, wait a minute, I got to hit someplace. Someplace I got to hit.
1-1 to Rob Thompson. 1 out in the third. 6-0 Giants in the third inning, with Jose Uribe on deck. Breaking ball pulled to Don Zimmer. 1-2. Don Zimmer. Is he something?
I have a picture of him in my scorebook with him dressed in a tuxedo, and him wearing a tie is a real upset. I may just give you a little bit of the National Enquirer on him and ties if you want it.
Oh, boy. 1-2 the count to Rob Thompson. And that's fisted foul upstairs, so Robbie is still there.
When he was with the Yankees and they had to wear ties, his wife had to tie the tie and put 4 of them in a suitcase. He can't tie a tie.
Don Zimmer. He might have been a great player. He was seriously beaned in the minor leagues. The first time I saw him was shortly after he had been beaned. He couldn't speak.
Oh.
Really, he could not speak. There's strike 3 call to Rob Thompson.
I'll tell you one thing. If there's a Hall of Fame for good guys and popular guys, brother, he'd be right there, old Zim.
In the World Series, the year that he was beaned in the early 50s, he was given the Dodgers requested permission, and the commissioner allowed it. And Don Zimmer sat in the dugout during the World Series, the Dodgers-Yankees. And then, finally, with a plate in his head, made it to the big leagues and was beaned again by Hal Jeffcoat.
Remember that.
Jose Uribe takes ball 1. Two out in the third. 6-0 Giants. And a little foul ball off third. That will go way back into the seats, so it's still 1-1. Of course, the damage is done if you tuned in late. And the wind played a big part in the top of the first when the Cubs had a base-running misadventure, and in the bottom of the first when Bob Denier dropped a fly ball. And it is 6-0 San Francisco. 1-1. Change, and a good one popped up to Paul Noche, and now it's his turn to fight it. So an easy inning, if there's anything easy. And at the end of 3, it is 6-0 Giants. Ryne Sandberg will lead off the 4th. And now here's a look back at a very special Olympic moment. Don Zimmer, the likable third base coach of San Francisco, And Joe has a picture actually in his scorebook that he carries whenever we play the Giants. He can lay this picture. And look at Zimmer. Does he look relaxed?
He looks like a little choir boy. I just agitated with it. We're always doing things to one another.
He has that old Fred Astaire, David Niven look. I mean, he's just born to wear a tuxedo, don't you think?
Now watch the next time he sees me. He'll do something. He'll hit me with a fungo bat or something, but he'll come up with something.
He is really something, a nice man. Meanwhile, let's see if the Cubs can recover from the winds of war in the first inning, and they'll try and rearrange things here in the top of the fourth. Ryne Sandberg, Andre Dawson, Brian Dayette.
While we got a chance here, I'd like to mention the guy, an old ball player who just got a new job, Pete Ramos, who's going to be the pitching coach in Miami-Dade Community College. Remember old Pete used to throw what he called a Cuban palm ball. He got a name for it. He's playing softball, and it's a big home run hitter, but he's the new pitching coach, and we wish him well.
And how? Into the fourth, 6-0 in favor of San Francisco. And Atlee Hammaker trying to win his fifth, trying to snap a 3-game losing streak against the Cubs, and trying to balance his books a lifetime with Chicago. 4-1. The last time we did a Cubs game, they were playing the St. Louis Cardinals, and Sandberg, racing down the line, stepped on first base, and his foot slipped, and the next thing you know, he twisted his ankle. A drive into right field. Coming over for it is Aldrete, and makes a fine catch right up against the screen.
And he really surrounded that ball. He started back. The wind swirls here. You look at the flag, you don't think it's a factor, but watch him now. He's got a pretty long way to go to get this one.
Nice play by Mike Aldrete to take a possible extra base hit away from Ryne Sandberg. And the batter will be Andre Dawson. Dawson has a 10-game hitting streak, and he hit the pop fly into shallow left field. Uribe couldn't handle it. Milner dived and couldn't come up with it. But they got the force play on Sandberg. That was understandable. But all of a sudden, Rob Thompson threw to Bob Brenly at first, and Dawson had only run about 70 feet, evidently thinking the ball had been caught. And now he loops one to left. A late start for Leonard, but he makes the play. Isn't it fun here?
Yeah,
There's nothing ordinary.
He wasn't sure about that at all. I mean, the ball didn't get up that high. Now watch him how he battles it. I mean, that was a hope I catch and don't get hurt kind of play.
Candlestick Park. We have 2 out in the fourth inning. And Brian Dayette the batter. That was that line George Wilhelm in a column about the politician in Chicago who might very well have been involved with the mob. And his aide said to him, when you run for office, it'll be vote for so-and-so, and nobody gets hurt. Well, so far at Candlestick, nobody has gotten hurt. It's 6-0 Giants at the end at 3½. A reminder, Bobby Rahal, the hottest driver on the IndyCar circuit of late, leads the top field, including Mario and Michael Andretti, Danny Sullivan, Al Unser Jr. in the CART Toronto Indy. Our coverage tomorrow begins at 4 Eastern Time, 2 in Los Angeles. The IndyCars take on the tight road course through the streets of Toronto and through the aisles of Candlestick. Take your pick. Looked like the sunglasses of Bob Dernier when he was going after that fly ball, the way they were glistening. Atlee Hammaker, Eddie Milner, and Mike Aldrete. Bottom of the fourth inning, 6-0 Giants, and Ed Lynch pitching now for Greg Maddux. Ed Lynch, New York boy, originally with the Mets. If I remember correctly, his dad was an usher way back at Ebbets Field. So he has a New York and a baseball background. One and one. And the bunt, he might have a chance. He is going to leg it out.
He beat Lynch to the bag. He caught him by surprise because Trio was ready to flip it, but Hammaker beats Lynch to the bag. There's nobody there now. He pushes it past him. And there he beats him to the bag, and Trio, there's nothing he can do but just hold it.
So Adley Hammaker gets a bunt single. That would be his 5th hit of the year. And Ed Lynch will now be pitching to Eddie Milner, followed by Mike Aldretti. Milner hit back to the box and singled. And Hammaker not being held on by Manny Trio. Breaking ball strike. Interestingly enough, Hammaker has not sacrificed this year. So there was no tip-off that he was a good bunter. And he dropped a dandy.
He picked a pretty good pitcher to bunt on. Change his speeds doesn't really knock that bat out of your hand.
And there's a high fly ball to right field to Andre Dawson. And holding is Hammaker. So 1 out. When you look at the Giant lineup, and remember, we're only in the 4th inning. The only people on the outside looking in, Will Clark, who fly deep to center and grounded to second. Kevin Mitchell, who hit the ball that Denier dropped and struck out. They're the only 2 without a base hit. Mike Aldretti has walked and singled. Hammaker at first. Aldretti hitting .324. 4-1. Giants trying to somehow turn things around at home. They've lost 11 of their last 14. They've lost 3 out of 4 to the Cubs here at home. And their record 8 games under 500 at home.
Would have had him. Oh, if Trio would have gone there. Jody Davis gave one of those flip jobs, and Hammaker put his head down and was walking back. Now he takes his eye off the ball right here. If Trio gets in the bag, they got him.
Just made it. And I'm sure Bill Fahey was screaming in that first base coaching box.
Well, that's unexplored territory for most pitchers.
Yeah, I think maybe the bunt went to his head. At least he was thinking about it.
Thinking on his average.
See if we have reports of a couple of other precincts there. The Cardinals are at it again. 26 games to 500, and they're leading San Diego 2-1 in the 5th. Baltimore, Mike Flanagan coming back from the minors, leading Kansas City 3-2 in the 5th. 2-1. Just to put things in order, Montreal trails the Cardinals by 8. Cincinnati leading Houston by 2.5 and the Giants by 4. The Yankees lead Toronto by 4, and Minnesota leads Oakland by only 1.
Is Bo Jackson taking it for that football statement? Saw a picture in the paper today. He had a football in his hand. Fans are throwing footballs at him.
2-2. And that's laced to center. Denier, however, in his tracks to handle it. So we have 2 down. Interesting, they did a little research, too, now that Oakland is only 1 game back. And historians would like this one, the fact that only 9 teams have ever hosted an All-Star game and gone on to host a World Series. Only 9. And, of course, Oakland would love to have that honor.
Left fielder, Jeffrey Leonard.
Jeffrey Leonard, single to right and struck out. 1 for 2.
Speaking of striking out, we just got word that Bo Jackson has struck out twice already today in that game. He's really put a lot of pressure on himself.
Oh, and how. Another fellow who strikes out so much that it's mind-boggling. After all, Jackson does hit a lot of home runs, so he just pays the bill when he strikes out. But Gary Pettis of the Angels strikes out a remarkable number of times, considering he's not a power hitter. They get the force play, and that's that. A base hit and nothing else. So at the end of 4, the Giants 6 and the Cubs nothing. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. He was the honorary coach for the National League in the All-Star game in Oakland. Hall of Famer Billy Williams. I love that one quick shot we had of Billy Williams coming up out of the National League dugout, full of enthusiasm after they had just dodged a run-scoring situation. It showed you just what makes a great ball player, and now a coach, Tick, still has that competitive desire.
I'll tell you, he still got that beautiful swing. Every swing he took was a hitting clinic. I'll tell you, man, it was something to watch. And that old-timers game I played in, first time up, bang, line drive down.
Well, the Cubs are looking for bang line drive. They come up in the 5th inning and they've been blanked. The Giants 6 runs, 7 hits, and the Cubs no runs, 2 hits. Keith Moreland singled in the second inning, but was doubled up when Manny Trio hit into a double play. Moreland, Trio, and Davis. And Atlee Hammaker on the mound for San Francisco. 1 ball and no strikes. We mentioned before about Moreland with 99 home runs in his career, and all but 10 of them as a Cub. He played for Dallas Green in Philadelphia. Hammaker walked Dayette opening up the second inning and fell behind to Moreland 2-0. And that's when Sherry came out to talk to him. Now he's behind to Moreland 3-0. And he walks him. So, of course, that's frustrating for Craig to have his pitcher walk a leadoff man 2 of the 5 innings when he's leading 6-0. And the batter, Manny Trio.
First baseman, Manny Trio.
Manny Trio hitting .297. Kind of a suitcase man. You see he's bounced around. Ron Davis begins to throw now in the Chicago bullpen. If they get down to Ed Lynch's spot, Gene Michael thinking about a hitter. Right. There's Davis. To Manny Trio. We're in the 5th. 6-0 San Fran. Moreland at first. Foul back. 0-2 the count. The Cubs, we were talking before about the Giants and their problems at Candlestick and then how good they are on the road. They're second to the Cardinals. The Cubs are a little bit better on the road than they are at home. 3 games over 500 at home, 5 games over on the road. And they're 2-0 on this road trip. 1-2. After tomorrow's game with the Giants, the Cubs will move on to San Diego, and then they'll finish up with a 3-game series with the Dodgers. Standing at first, Keith Moreland. They don't figure to have Moreland do any running, so Will Clark just kind of visits with him. 1-2.
They got Trio on a ground ball. The last time was a double play. The way that grass is here, you really have to shoot that ball through there. It's cut that way for aesthetic purpose. It looks nice, but it is a bit high, and it'll slow that ball down.
Which could be one of the many reasons why the Giants lead in turning double plays. 2-2. And that's almost a check swing dunker into right field. Moreland will be waved to third. So Manny Trio kind of stiff-armed one into right field, and the Cubs are in business with nobody out.
That's what the ball players call an excuse me swing. He started to swing, stops, and it goes for the base hit. Watch him now. He doesn't drive that ball to right field. He tries to stop this swing, and got a base hit.
He'll take it first and third. Trio at first, Moreland at third, and Jody Davis coming up with Paul Noche on deck. Jody Davis has hurt the Giants in the past. He's hit 3 home runs against them this year, and he's hitting a little better than .280 against them. He flied to left field in the second inning. First and third, nobody out. That's a strike. Davis, with a bad foot, has hit into 10 double plays, and he's against the team that leads the league in double plays. So the Cubs are hoping he can at least hit the ball in the air. And the breeze blowing from right to left. 0-1. And Jody now asking for time. ball and 1 strike. This has not been a good year for Jody Davis. Oh, he has 11 home runs, 30 RBIs. Nothing wrong with that. But he's hitting in the very low 200s with runners in scoring position. And he's hitting way under 200 with men on base, period. So he's been struggling with the bat when it really counts. He tried to golf that breaking ball. He was really trying to lift it.
There's a curveball in a good spot, and he wanted to try to get that ball in the air to get that sacrifice fly, but he misses it by a good margin.
1-2 the count to Jody Davis. Paul Noche on deck. Rafael Palmeiro is on deck. That's in the dirt, and it's going to get away from Brenly. Down to second base goes Trio. Moreland did not want to risk trying to come down the line from third. So second and third and nobody out. And, of course, that takes the threat of the double play away.
It looked like a hard slider. He just overthrew it, and you can see Brenly tried to block it, but all you can do is get in front of him and put your glove like he did, but hit off the shin guard, and once it did that, nothing for him to do but pick it up and watch Trio go into second.
So it's a wild pitch charged to Adley Hammaker. 3 Giant pitchers have had 5 wild pitches now this year. 2-2 the count to Jody Davis. It is 6-0 Giants. The Cubs with an opportunity to get back in the game now. At third base, Keith Moreland. At second, Manny Trio. Nobody out. Ground ball, foul. When you look at the Cub bench, and Gene Michael is trying to wheel and deal a little bit, he is stocked with left-hand hitters, Martinez, Durham, and Palmeiro. He has the switch hit of Mumphrey. He's already used Quinones, and he has Jim Sundberg. Slow roller to third. The runners are going to have to hold. So Davis doing what he has done all year, and that has really driven him up a wall. He just can't advance base runners. And Jody leaving runners at second and third as he grounds out.
Nothing for Moreland to do but become a spectator as Mitchell gives him a good look. He even adds a fake to it, unnecessary, but he had so much time with Jody running that he did.
So second and third and 1 out, and Paul Noche coming up. Noche hitting .276. He struck out in the third inning. Palmeiro swinging a bat on deck. He's a left-handed batter. As we said, they have Mumphrey who switches, but the only right-hand hitter is someone you certainly don't want to use, your backup catcher.
Noche uses the entire field, and you can see the Giants respect that because Milner in center field directly in line. He is playing him straight away.
He came into the game hitting .333 against the Giants, so they have to have a healthy respect for him. 0-1. Fouled off. No balls and 2 strikes. The count to Paul Noche. Second and third, 1 out in the 5th. Giants 6, Cubs nothing.
24-man rosters kind of placed some ball clubs in jeopardy, especially with the catchers.
They had the Red Sox in Oakland last night. John McNamara's club kind of ran out.
Greenwell ended up back there.
0-2 to Paul Noche. Ground ball, and the runners are going to have to hold again. So with second and third and nobody out, Davis and Noche ground to Mitchell. And now the batter will be Rafael Palmeiro, who's only had 9 at-bats against left-hand pitchers all year. He's 2 for 9. So Palmeiro coming up.
These meetings are always good.
Your attention, please.
Just hear Hammaker saying,
For the
what did
Cubs.
we say about him in the meeting? Well, they said he was a
and
low
Davis.
ball hitter and try to keep
Number
the ball
25,
up, but don't get it out.
Rafael
Keep the curveball down.
Palmeiro.
Did you see him hit? No, I didn't see him hit, but that's what I heard. Well, what do you want me to do? Well, I mean, it goes on, and then when it's all over, he's going to do what he wants anyhow.
Well, we'll see about Palmeiro. You know, we were talking before about Mumphrey, too, as a switch hitter. And yet Mumphrey rarely comes off the bench to swing right-handed. So he is basically a left-hand hitter. Mumphrey's only had 3 at-bats hitting right-handed. So you can call him a switch hitter, but he's really a left-handed batter. So they're strong on that side, but there's a left-hander going for the Giants.
In keeping what we said about Hammaker paying more attention to the hitters rather than just going out there and getting the job done, even before he pitched to Palmeiro, he looked at the bench and asked, is this the kind of a guy who might bunt? And he had to get some
I
help.
have a true story to tell you. This actually happened. I know of a meeting. I'm not going to embarrass the player. And the pitcher was going down the starting lineup. And he came to a name and he said, does anybody know this guy? And a player, big outfielder in the back of the room, said, I know him. Pitcher said, tell me about it. He said, well, he's married, he has 2 wonderful kids, and he drives a station wagon. Ball 2. 2 and 1. Wonderful.
I tell you, if you could tape record some of those meetings. I like Gardner's quote. Billy Gardner says if they have to have meetings, the only meetings I like is the one where you split up the shares.
Yeah, and how? What a nice meeting that must be. And that's popped in the air, and Will Clark is going to have a play if he can find it. He found it. So the Cubs have second and third, nobody out, and leave them. And at the end of 4.5 innings, 6-0 Giants. Here's Will Clark fighting the elements on that towering pop fly. He had the sunglasses down. He needed the glove to really stay with it. And then finally, when he felt he had it in his sights, he took the glove away to make the catch. You learn every possible defensive trick. And, of course, one other thing is to blacken underneath your eyes to cut down reflection. So Clark, who's been struggling, fly deep to center, grounded out, 0 for 2, batting .302. Ball 1. Ron Davis on the mound. Davis, the 3rd Cub pitcher. Ron in his 19th game and an earned run average of just under 5. So it's not been a good time for him. And there's a high one into left field. Coming down the line is Dayette. Nice play. 1 away. If you don't have sunglasses out there today, it would be a disaster. And Dayette needed them every inch of the way.
He caught that ball behind him.
Bob Brenly singled in the first inning to drive in a run. He has hit in 11 straight, and then last time up he struck out. Ball 1. Two balls and no strikes the count. Giants scored 5 in the first. You had to see it to believe it. Added another in the second. Well, here's another pop fly in the wind. Woo, and Noche dropped it. So Paul Noche is another witness who will take the stand and tell you about a lovely day at Candlestick.
He was waving people off. Watch him, and he never gets to it. Never did get to it. He waves them off. He says, I got it. And the wind probably saying, oh, yes. And down she goes.
It is your usual double to the shortstop. That's how it's ruled. So Brenly has a single and a double, and Kevin Mitchell will be the batter.
Third baseman.
Mitchell hit the ball a Denier drop and then struck out in the 3rd inning. You know, when you see the Cubs having as much trouble as they're having today, you wonder how in the world the Giants have not been able to win at home. Because obviously they know the ballpark. They're accustomed to the wind, if you can ever get accustomed to it. And the visiting team, you would think, is at a tremendous disadvantage. And yet the Giants have lost 11 of their last 14 at home.
Craig, when he talks about it, Vin, he says, listen, if they weren't hustling, weren't playing, doing things badly, it'd be something else. But he said these guys are really out there, really busting their hump, trying to win these games, just not winning.
2 balls, no strikes. 2-1 to Kevin Mitchell.
How could, there you see Roger Craig with Sherry. You know, I never could understand that kind of scoring, though, on a pop fly like that.
Well, the basic thing is, well, he never touched it.
Baloney.
Especially if you're the pitcher. There are a lot of things the rule book doesn't say it. But you know, it is the big leagues.
That's right. That ball should have been caught.
Oh, sure. Now the run comes in. Ron Davis ERA skyrockets some more. 3-1 the count to Kevin Mitchell. Foul back.
What was the difference on that pop fly than the one that Milner tried to catch? That goes a base hit?
Yeah, Milner diving at the ball at Andre Dawson. It would have been a base hit, except they got the force play at second base.
See, I don't... That kind of scoring gets to me.
6-0 in favor of San Francisco. Bottom of the fifth inning, 1 out. There's a great columnist here in San Francisco. I think he's on his vacation now, but whenever I come up here, I always love to read him. Herb Cain, strike 3 called. And Herb Cain made an observation, umpteen years ago, about a rather garish-looking new hotel in San Francisco. But it really applies now to Candlestick Park, because he said, quote, "It looks like the box that Disneyland came in." And when you see a game like today here, you think, that's right, Disneyland arrived in this box. Here's Robbie Thompson. Single, struck out, 1 for 2. Remember the All-Star game when Stu Miller was blown off the mound?
Yeah.
1-0 the count to Robbie Thompson. We'll have a station identification coming up in 1 moment, just after this pitch. All right, we'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
This is KWQC in Davenport, your best bet for sports in the Quad Cities.
Okay, it is 6-0 Giants. Brenly with a wind-blown, sun-blinding pop fly double is at second base with 2 out. And Robbie Thompson up there with the count, 1 ball and no strikes. 5 Giants have struck out today. They average about 7 a game. That's why they lead the league in striking out. Breaking ball, and that's not struck out. That's hit deep to left. It is hit out. And it is 8-0 San Francisco. And of course now Ron Davis would really like to talk to you about the pop fly to shortstop that went as a double.
Davis came sidearm to Robbie Thompson, but Robbie didn't give any ground. Ball stayed inside, and he just drilled it. It comes from the side, right down the middle.
So San Francisco leading now 8-0 for Rob Thompson, his 8th home run of the year, and for Ron Davis, the 5th home run that he has allowed. And that's slapped into left, and that little flare will drop for a base hit. So Uribe, a looping single to left, and it continues. A day on the rack as far as Gene Michael and the Cubs are concerned. 8-0 San Francisco. Adley Hammaker coming up. You can see the Cubs atop the heap. And the Giants are right there. Fouled away. The Cubs are on a pace to hit 215 home runs this year. That would be an all-time club mark. The Giants are on a pace to hit 207. Another mark. Strike.
And Mark McGwire's on the pace. It's just not to be believed.
0-2. And that's hit in the air to right field. Dawson was playing shallow and makes the catch. 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 left at the end of 5. 8-0 Giants, and here's another edition of Characters of the Game. It was on this day when Willie Mays had his 3,000th hit. I guess the best ball player I ever saw, that's for darn sure. Willie Mays. I want want to double check the year. Said 1971, and of course he will forever live in memory, along with Mel Ott, another Hall of Famer. There they are. Willie McCovey, Juan Marichal, Willie Mays, Carl Hubble, Mel Ott, Bill Terry, Christy Mathewson.
Talking about retiring numbers, Rod Carew in Minnesota, they'll retire his number tomorrow. I think that's a long time coming.
I should say so. It's nice, of course, too. There'll be a big crowd there, Minnesota in first place, and that's really what Carew needs anyway. A great salute, well deserved. Two balls, one strike. Line to left field. That's sinking for a base hit. Let's check the scores. The Red Sox took care of Oakland today. The A's were just one back, but Boston bangs them 5-3. St. Louis leading San Diego 3-1 in the 6th inning. Baltimore piling it on now, breezing 8-2 in the 7th.
Second baseman, Ryan Sandberg.
So Denier with a single to left field. That brings up Ryan Sandberg. For the Cubs, their 4th hit. It is 8-0 Giants. So at least for the moment, Denier's single can be listed as a whimper of protest. Strike. Sandberg single to left and hit a long fly ball to right field. Mike Aldrete made a nice catch. Hamaker is pitching dangerously, but of course he is leading 8-0. But it's still a very dangerous way to pitch. There's a drive into deep center. Back goes Milner to the track at the wall to make the catch. And so Sandberg has come close twice, but you have one out and a man at first. The dangerous thing about Hamaker is allowing the leadoff man to get on base, but he's been able to get away with it. And Andre Dawson coming up. Hit the fly ball that dropped for an apparent base hit that was turned into a force play that wound up being a double play. That was the overture to the Cubs' day today in the 1st inning. I mean, that was the theme song. And then last time up, he flied to left. So Denier at first, one away. Denier has stolen 11 out of 15. In normal circumstances, you would think he might be going, but down 8-0, they're going to hold him. Fouled away. Dawson tried to drive that thing into right field, go with the ball.
Boy, with that stance, you can see him just dive into the pitch, and he really spreads out when he takes that stance. He steps towards that ball.
Adley Hamaker's numbers: a couple of walks and 4 hits. He really did a great job of pitching in the 5th inning when the Cubs had 2nd and 3rd and nobody out and failed to score. Ground ball to the hole, backhanded by Uribe to Rob Thompson to Will Clark. That's the 3rd double play turned in by the ball club that leads the league in double plays, and it's still 8-0 Giants. They don't drag the infield here at Candlestick. They wet it down.
If they wanted to drag it, they'd have to go in the stands to get it. It's blown in there. That ball was well hit by Dawson. That grass slowed it down. Uribe makes a fine backhand play. Gives it to Thompson in good shape. That was a major league double play.
There is no chicanery, by the way, in watching the San Francisco ground crew wet down the infield. That is done because of the winds here. It would blow the topsoil off the base paths, and it would blow into the box seats where the high-priced customer is sitting. So every 5th inning, they wet down the infield. It is not turning the clock back to 1962 when they drowned the infield to make sure that Maury Wills could not run in the slow track. Alvin Dark, who was from Louisiana anyway, we put a pretty good label on him in calling him the Swamp Fox after Francis Marion. That's the only time they ever drowned the infield up here for another reason besides the cleanliness of the box seat holder. Eddie Milner hit back to the box, single to center, stole a base and scored, and flied to right. He's 1 for 3, hitting .205. Ground ball to first, and Manny Trio brings that to the bag, 1 away.
It's funny you talk about dragging the infield, how your mind works, and you mentioned Ellis Clary before. He's such a funny little guy. One scouting report he turned in, he said this pitcher's so bad that they dragged the warning drag. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's bad. Here's Mike Aldretti. Walk, single to center, flied out. He has scored a run. 8-0 Giants. Bottom of the 6th inning. 0-1. On deck, Jeffrey Leonard, who is 1 for 3. The Cubs have used Greg Maddock, Ed Lynch, and Ron Davis. Atlee Hammaker going for the Giants, trying to win his 5th, and he's leading handily, and he's gone the required 5. So Atlee's in pretty good chance to pick it up today. 1-2. You know, we've been giving anniversaries. We talked about the fact that with Mattingly's 7 straight home run games completed on a day when Joe DiMaggio had his streak snapped, July the 17th of 41, and we showed you Willie Mays getting his 3,000th hit on this day in 1971. Aldretti comes up empty. Down he goes. This is not a big streak. It's not going to get any headlines, but in the National League record book, it was on this day that Ron Hunt was hit by a pitch. And when Ron Hunt was hit by a pitch on this date, he broke Frank Robinson's record, National League record, of being hit most times by a pitch. Ron went on to what we thought were stratospheric heights in being hit by a pitch. But Don Baylor has broken that mark. So Baylor now is the champ. Battered and bruised and lumped, but he's the champ. What was it Ron Hunt said about that? He said, I was always hoping there'd be somebody dumber than me to win the award.
He said, you know, when they talk about players being able to hit, they say he gets good wood on the ball. Ron Hunt, they said he gets good skin on the ball.
Take one in the neck for the club. 1-1 to count. Jeffrey Leonard, 8-0 Giants. 6th inning.
He used to practice that. Go down and practice getting hit.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Oh.
And hospitalization.
Giants scored 5 in the first, 1 in the second, and 2 in the 5th. They've had 1 home run, that by Robbie Thompson. And Leonard, and I've got to believe his wrist is bothering him. He strikes out for the 2nd time. It is 8-0 Giants at the end of 6. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. A reminder, NBC's baseball coverage continues next week. Doubleheader action. An inside look will start it off with Major League Baseball. Game 1, it'll be the New York Yankees taking on the White Sox, or the defending Western champion California Angels and the Red Hot Tigers. Second half of the doubleheader, the Cubs will take on the Dodgers in Los Angeles. Hope you'll join us then. Brian Dayette, Keith Moreland, and Manny Trio, 7th inning, 8-0 San Francisco.
You talk about anniversaries, and you mentioned Detroit. How about our friend Sparky Anderson winning over 700 games in both leagues?
Yeah, that's great. And he has his Tigers on the move. Detroit, when the sun came up today, 5 games back of the Yankees. High fly ball to straightaway center. Eddie Milner going sideways. Oh, isn't it something? That was really something. I guess that'll sum up this place as well.
You can put this to music. Now turn sideways and take 2 steps, 2 steps, 2 steps, 2 steps, and catch it.
If you can play here, you can play anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Good play by Eddie Milner on what should be just considered a routine fly ball. But in all honesty, especially in the day game, there is no such thing as a routine fly ball. It's a contradiction of terms in this park. 1 ball and no strikes. He might not get in the game today, and we want to wish him a very happy birthday. That would be pinch hitter Harry Spillman of the Giants. He's 33 years old today. 1-1 to Keith Moreland. Singled and walked, 1 for 1. Lined into left field. That'll be a base hit. So Moreland bidding for a perfect day. 2 singles and a walk. That is hit number 5 of Atlee Hammaker, and the batter will be Manny Trio. Hit into a double play, single to right. Cubs had that rocky first inning because of the confusion on the pop fly. They had 2 on and nobody out in the second. Trio hit into a double play. They had second and third and nobody out in the fifth, and they couldn't budge him. They had the leadoff man get aboard in the sixth, and Dawson hit into a double play. And now a 1-out single by Moreland. And Trio drives it to left, and Leonard going back to the track, and this one is gone. So Manny Trio hits it out, and that makes it Giants 8, Cubs 2 for Trio, his 6th home run. He has 18 runs batted in. And for Atlee Hammaker, that's the 11th home run that he has allowed.
It looked like he was just going to try to get ahead of Trio, and Trio wouldn't let him. He jumped on that fastball and hit it over the fence.
120 home runs for the Cubs, #1 in the league. And as we said, they're on a pace to hit. Well, they're going to break the 182 set in 1958.
Fan makes a pretty good catch. Drops it, but he'll recover it.
So 8-2 Giants, and here's Jody Davis. And he goes the other way, but he hit it more at the end of the bat. And it's going to be an out to Aldrete on the track. 2 down. Hammaker's pitch is coming up a little bit now. He had the long out by Diet, high in the air. Then Moreland single, Trio homers, Davis a fly ball to right, and Paul Noche will be coming up.
They're not letting Hammaker get ahead of him. They're going after that very first pitch. It's in the strike zone.
Noche struck out, grounded out. Left-hander Frank DiPino is throwing in the bullpen. If they get to Ron Davis' spot, evidently Gene Michael will hit for him. 4-1. There's Frank DiPino. Fouled away. Boy, what a thump that made. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jim Sundberg, the backup catcher to Jody Davis, is out on deck. 1-1. Ball 2. And there's another one hit in the air, but Aldrete comes up to pick it off. And that's that. 2 runs, 2 hits, nobody left at the end of 6 1/2. 8-2 Giants, and here's another edition of the 7th inning stretch. A fitting subject for the 7th inning stretch. Second baseman Ryne Sandberg of the Chicago Cubs. We're going to the bottom of the 7th, 8-2. And some smiles on some pretty faces. Father and daughter.
Leading off the home half of the 7th.
Will Clark, Bob Brenly, and Kevin Mitchell in that order. And right-hander Ron Davis, who was due up first when the Cubs hit in the 8th inning. So this might be his very last inning with his team down by 6. Working on Clark, 0 for 3. Clark and Mitchell are the only 2 Giants without a hit. Will batting .301. Ground ball to first, backhanded by Trio, feeding his man Davis coming over. 1 away.
Makes a nice play. A little bit undecided to start it off. Kind of a strange position in the way, but he gives Davis a good feed, and they got 1 man out.
Catcher, Bob Brenly.
Trio doing the job for Leon Durham since the left-hander Atlee Hammaker is on the mound. Here's Brenly, single to center, struck out, and got a pop fly double when Noche surrounded it but couldn't catch it. So Brenly, 2 for 3, has hit in 11 straight, and he's batting .287. Ball 2. Kevin Mitchell on deck. Three and 0. Greg Maddux, Ed Lynch, and Ron Davis working for the Cubs today. 3-1. High fly ball into left field and deep. Dayette goes back on the track at the wall. Gone.
Situation here in Candlestick when those fans come out. They're really battling for that home run. Gene Michael doesn't like it at all. Look at that. They're really going for it. Those kids have a field day. Look at them. They come out of the stands like a wave. Look at them coming over now. These kids want that ball, and some of the grown-ups. And boy, here it comes. Look at this.
And the batter now, Kevin Mitchell. Ball 1. Ron Davis can't find any humor in the situation. It's the second home run he's given up today. A rather pained look on his face. Mitchell hits a high drive into right center. Denier going back, now on the track, and makes the catch two-handed. Two-handed. It is 9-2 Giants.
Two-handed too late.
I remember years ago when Rico Carty, and I think Rico Carty was the first outfielder to introduce the one-handed catch of a routine fly ball when he came to Atlanta.
Let me question it a minute.
Yeah.
Was Leon Wagner before Carty?
Well, maybe Wags with the Giants. I don't know, but I know Carty just always did it, and I always felt he was the one to introduce it. And Paul Richards was then running things in Atlanta, and he told Carty, I don't want you to do that again. And Carty said, I can't catch the ball with two hands. He said, you're going to have to learn. And somebody hit a fly ball. Carty tried to catch it two-handed and dropped it. He went back to catching one-handed. And ever since then, and before that, I don't remember seeing people catch balls like that.
No, they always caught the ball two-handed.
The worst thing about it is, and of course Michael could attest to it, if you have a center fielder who drops a fly ball with two hands, you say, well, that's one of those things. But when you see a fellow drop it one-handed, that's really hard to swallow. 1-2. Foul ball, and this telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball, and I doubt very well if there'd be many requests for this one, especially in Chicago.
If so, we'll go see them 2 to 4 on Sundays. They'll be in a place like that. You know, getting back to catching that ball, I remember Terry Moore, the great center fielder with the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Always caught the ball on the right side of his body, so he didn't have to swing around to throw it. He was always in position to throw.
I remember as a kid reading on the back of a cereal box, they had big league ball players talking about how to catch a ball, and one of the things they said, catch the fly ball as if it was a baby bird falling out of a tree, very gently. Well, they get a run on the home run by Brenly, and it is 9-2 Giants at the end of the 7th. Roger Craig's battle cry in San Francisco, hum baby. And they're humming today, 9-2 San Francisco. Jim Sundberg hits one foul, batting for Ron Davis, and the count 0-1. So we've seen Quinones, Palmeiro, and now Sundberg.
You know, that's something that's gone out of baseball. You talk about something that's missing. You don't hear guys hollering in the infield anymore, get that ball over or whatever.
I don't know. It's pretty hard to hear him from up here.
Yeah, but you just watch them. I mean, used to be guys were, you know, would chatter a little bit.
Maybe it's just today. I haven't really been, you know, I can't hear it, but in a 9-2 game, probably not too much to say.
Well, pay attention to it. The next game you do. I'm going to give you a written test.
Ball 1, 1 and 2.
As a kid, remember the things you used to say?
You know, this is a true story. Trying to play baseball up at Fordham, right? And Jack Coffey was the coach and the most literate man you'd ever want to meet. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Hard ground ball to short. The grass takes the sting out of it, and Uribe throws him out. 1 down. Anyway, we were playing some team, and there was a pop fly in the infield, and the Fordham infielder said, I got it, I got it, I got it, and he made the catch. Came in the dugout, and Jack Coffey said, son, you represent a school of higher learning. You represent a fine university. If there is a pop fly, you should be grammatically correct. I swear to you.
Oh, come on.
I swear to you now. He said, you don't say, I got it, I got it, I got it. You say, I have it, I have it, I have it. Fellow said, okay, coach. So, on 1 to count. So the next game we played, so help me, bases loaded, 2 out, somebody hits a pop fly, and the same kid on the infield. You know, I got it, I got it, I mean, I have it, I have it. Then he dropped it.
I guarantee you guys that say I have it ain't catching it.
That's right. Just paraphrase Will Rogers, huh?
That's right.
I beg your pardon, sir, I have it.
I have it.
2 and 1 to count to Bob Denier.
Please precede me, and you make the play.
And on deck, Ryan Sandberg. Ground ball to the left of Uribe, but he sucks that one up like a vacuum cleaner. And again, that's where that grass really comes in handy. Not to take anything away from Uribe, but earlier Dawson hit a ball in the 6th, and it's a base hit. But it was a double play. This one is smacked right on the screws.
Tell you, the groundskeeper can help your ball club. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing. In fact, Al Rosen, and they had the best over in Cleveland. Well, I say the best. I mean, one of the best, because that whole Bossert family, even going to now, those guys could really work on an infield.
Well, here's Ryan Sandberg, single to left, hit a long fly ball to right and a long fly ball to center. So Rhino 1 for 3, hitting .284. It is 9-2 Giants. The game really kind of went down the drain by the 2nd inning. It was 6-0 San Francisco. 1-1. The Cubs, I guess, knew they were in for trouble in the top of the 1st. Sandberg singled. Dawson hit a pop fly that fell for an apparent hit. Dawson didn't run it out. Sandberg was forced at 2nd. Dawson was doubled up at 1st, and that was the beginning of a bad day. And that will take care of Sandberg and the Cubs in the 8th inning. And at the end of 7½, Giants 9, Cubs 2. Well, we were talking about it earlier. It must have been very tough for the Cubs not to say to themselves, what a day this is going to be. But that's really been the kind of a day it's been.
It is, and I tell you, it's really hard. You almost have to kick yourself in that dugout to make yourself go, because you know that things are going to go against you, and it's just very difficult to do, and they haven't been able to do it.
You've been in dugouts that have been overwhelmed by the opposition once or twice in your career. I mean, it's pretty hard even to say, come on, guys, let's get him when you're down by 7 going into the 8th or 9th inning.
It's like when you're a little kid and your mother sends you out at night. You know, you whistle, and but forget it. It isn't going to help.
Yep.
I mean, you know better. You're saying it, but it's just for effect.
I always remember the T-shirt I saw in a locker room. The front portion of the T-shirt said, it ain't over till it's over. And then as the fellow walked away, on the back of the T-shirt, it said, it's over. Well, Frank DiPino has 3 outs to get in the 8th. He is the 4th Cub pitcher. And Johnny Oates will scratch off one more name. So it's been Maddox, Lynch, Davis, and now DiPino. He'll be pitching to Uribe, Hamaker, and then Milner. 9-2 Giants, bottom of the 8th. Boy, that popped out. Ball 1. Uribe double to right, popped to short, and single to left. Uribe hitting .287. Fouled away. Nice crowd today. 26,504. 26,504. That's about 6,000 above the average here at Candlestick as they slowly get to the million mark. They're not there yet. There are, last I read, 7 teams in the National League, including the Cubs, who have drawn over 1 million. The Giants are over the 850,000 mark now. That's Jeff Robinson and Craig Lefferts. Lefferts just acquired from San Diego, the left-hander. Fouled away.
Pino's like a lot of those relief pitchers. They pitch off the stretch with nobody on. They feel more comfortable, but he looks like he thinks there's a guy on third, almost like he takes a look.
They got him from Davy Lopes. Let's watch him. Yeah, he does kind of peek over his shoulder, doesn't he?
Like he's disappointed that nobody's there.
2-2. Breaking ball hit foul to Don Zimmer. Still 2-2. You know, when he was that kid shortstop in the minor leagues, not only was he a terrific fielder, he had a lot of power. He was a home run hitter. I think he was leading the International League in home runs when he was being. 2-2. Of course, we're not telling the people in Chicago anything about Don Zimmer. He was the coach at third for the Cubs when Jim Fry managed the ball club. Jim, of course, is now broadcasting Chicago radio play-by-play of the Cub games, and Zimmer's coaching for the Giants. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Interesting the way he checks over his shoulder.
Another foul ball.
I guess if you feel comfortable, do it.
Well, San Diego fought back to catch the Cardinals, and they're 3-3 in the 7th inning. Hopped in the air, foul. Jody Davis coming back. That takes care of Uribe. 1 away. With the Cardinals at San Diego today, Joe McGrain was to be pitching against Eric Shao. The Cubs are on their way to San Diego, and the first notice in the paper a couple of days ago was the fact that Shao would not be pitching against the Cubs. Adley Hammaker grounded to third, bunted for a base hit, and flied to right. He's 1 for 3. He's gotten a windfall, 9 runs, but he's also pitched well. It's interesting, too, going into this game, Adley Hammaker had lost 6 of his last 7 decisions, and in those games, the Giants scored a total of 9 runs. They got him 9 today in a couple innings. You know who's really been getting the runs? Tommy John of the Yankees. He leads the major leagues in batting support. The Yankees are averaging better than 7 runs a game that Tommy John starts. 7. In the National League, Bob Forsch of the Cardinals is getting almost 7, better than 6.5 a game. That's a lot of runs for a starting pitcher. Wow.
It's funny how certain pitchers just get a lot of runs when they walk out there when they're having that kind of a year.
Rick Sutcliffe, when he had his Cy Young Award year, got a bunch of runs, and then it tailed off considerably. 1-2 the count. Of course, there's one other side to that coin, too, and nobody ever explores that. Pitch to Hammaker. Ground foul. In other words, you say, okay, Hammaker has lost 6 out of 7. Poor guy. The Giants only scored a total of 9 runs in those games. And you say, yeah, gee, he was really unlucky. I don't say this is true, but if you look it up, maybe he allowed 79 runs.
All right.
They'd never tell you the runs that he gave up. 1-2. Hit off the end of the stick, foul outside of first. He broke his bat. The Giants sitting back. That's Dave Dravecky. See, he looks a little different in a Giant uniform. Cincinnati is at New York tonight. The Reds leading the Giants by 4, Houston by 2.5. Ted Power is due to go against Sid Fernandez. And Philadelphia at Houston, Don Carmen and Bob Nepper. 1-2 the count. Fouled away, so Hammaker making DePino work. And it's still 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Jody Davis been hit with 3 foul tips just this time at bat. He's in one of those catcher slumps like that mask is a magnet.
1-2.
Got another one. Someday we'll have a record kept. Most foul tips.
And you'll keep track of it. I know that.
Well, you think anybody has looked at their ass, Jody? Randy's just looked at the ball and said, we'll put a new ball in play. And that's just what Jody's talking to the umpire about. Why do they have to hit me now?
I know somebody's going to probably want to look at the ball tomorrow, and that'll be Gene Michael. And down goes Hammaker. Tomorrow's pitchers, Les Lancaster and Mike Krukow. And the last time Krukow pitched for the Giants against the Cubs, Gene Michael acted as if it was Mike Scott of Houston. He was claiming that Krukow was scuffing the ball. Well, Atley gets himself a standing ovation. He's another fellow from nearby Carmel.
Well, with that new catcher they brought up, that's going to be an audition if Hammaker pitches to Sasser. Mackie Sasser.
Mackie Sasser.
Atley Hammaker.
Strike. Atley's mother is from Kyoto, Japan. Kyoto being the old capital of Japan. In fact, the Japanese did an interesting thing. The old capital was Kyoto, K-Y-O-T-O. When they established the new capital, all they did was rearrange the letters, T-O-K-Y-O, Tokyo.
You moved your hands just like Vanna White then.
Ground ball to short. Noche to first. It's all in the hands. And at the end of 8, whether it's Teoko, it's 9-2 Giants. The oldest ballpark in the National League and one of the great spots in America to spend an afternoon watching the Cubs play ball, Wrigley Field. And I would think at this juncture the Cub players would just as soon be in Wrigley Field. It is 9-2 Giants in the 9th. Andre Dawson, Brian Dayette, and Keith Moreland. Dawson has a 10-game hitting streak that will be snapped unless he does something in his last at-bat. Ball 1. And he might have gotten a base hit and was somewhat embarrassed in the first inning. He's waited almost, well, 2 years. Atley Hammaker coming back from twice he's had surgery, torn rotator cuff. This is his longest outing of the year. He went 8 innings back in May. 2-0. Ball 3. The only disquieting thing he has done to upset Roger Craig's day has been walking a couple of leadoff men, allowing a couple of leadoff men to get on. But he has a big cushion leading 9-2 in there. 3-1. Nine runs, 11 hits for San Francisco, 2 runs, 6 hits, and an error for the Cubs. Ground ball to the left of Uribe. Jose nails him. So Dawson and a 10-game hitting streak would appear to be history. The Major League Baseball game of the week has been brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. By Armor All, it's the finishing touch every time you wash your car. By the Prudential, offering a wide range of insurance and other financial services. And by your Toyota dealer and the reliable Camry sedan and wagon. Who can ask for anything more? Toyota. Brian Dayette, ball 1. Dayette walked, rounded to third, fly to center. Chopper back at third, foul. 1-1 to count. For Atley Hammaker, he is certainly not an overpowering pitcher. He has walked 2 and struck out 1. But he had that big 5-run cushion to lean on in the first inning, and it just got bigger, and he was leading 8-0 by the end of the 5th inning. Good change, 1-2. Cubs got on the board in the 7th inning. With 1 out, Moreland singled, and Manny Trio hit a home run. Ground foul. John Vukovic coaching at third. Jim Snyder over at first. One and two. We have 1 out in the 9th inning. Giants leading by 7. Adley Hammaker trying to snap a 3-game losing streak and win his 5th of the year. The 3-game losing streak against the Cubs. Boy, he was trying to catch an echo. That thing was already by him. Line drive single for Brian Dayette. 7 hits for Chicago.
Hammaker's follow-through is a good one. Ball well hit. He gives it a try, but you can see, and you said, Vin, it was by him.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. What was that? Keith Moreland bidding for a perfect day. He has 2 singles and a walk. He has scored a run. He was aboard when Trio hit it out. He has Dayette at first. They're not holding. Ball 1. Hey, coming off torn rotator cuff surgery twice, that mystery malady where he lost all the weight. This is quite a milestone for Hammaker to get into the 9th inning. There was a feeling for a while up here he'd never pitch again. He was really courageous for him to be able to fight his way back.
He's gone through a lot, and I tell you, I had a long talk with him, and it was great to listen to him and how he battled back, how he changed his thinking, and how his wife was such a big support system for him.
He's only 29. Fouled away. Hammaker came with others from Kansas City in a deal that involved, among others, Vida Blue. Dayette at first, 2 balls, 1 strike. Fouled away down the right field line, out of play, 2 and 2. One away in the 9th. Fastball, and that's hit into right field for a base hit. Dayette to second, will keep on going to third. Aldretti fires into Rob Thompson. So with 1 out, runners at first and third. Big day for Moreland, 3 singles and a walk. And the batter will be Manny Trio.
Boy, you could see with 2 strikes, he wasn't about to take that big swing. He was going to stay with it. With the breaking pitch, he just served it in the right field. That's good hitting.
Trio hit into a double play. Single to right and hit the 2-run home run in the 7th inning. Jeff Robinson gets up down in the Giant bullpen. Bob Lillis wearing a walkie-talkie headset. Good change. Trio jumping on it. There's Robinson going to work. Half swing. They're going to check it first. Swing, says Paul Runge. 0-2 the count to Manny Trio.
Good call.
Trio tipped it off, too. As soon as he tried to check, he then backed out. He was annoyed. He knew he couldn't hold up. That's why I think Runge kind of smiled when he pointed to him as if to say, yeah, you were right. You did swing. 0-2. Ball 1. 1 out, 9th inning. Dayette single to center. Moreland single to right, sending Dayette to third. And Trio up there, followed by Jody Davis. 9 runs, 11 hits for the Giants. 2 runs, 8 hits for the Cubs. Two and two. Waiting his turn on deck. There's Jody. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Line drive at Kevin Mitchell. 2 down. So Trio hits a bullet, but instead of perhaps an extra base hit and 1 or 2 RBIs, it's the second out. Ball drilled right at the third baseman. And that will bring up Jody Davis. 0 for 3. Flied to left, grounded to third, flied to right. So Jody 0 for 3. So Adley Hammaker trying to pitch his first complete game in over 2 years. Ball 1. It was June of '85. On the 18th of July in '87, he needs 1 more out. His last complete game was a shutout. 1 ball, no strikes. Ball 2. Fly ball into deep left center field. Eddie Milner going back on the track, and one hands it at the wall. And Adley Hammaker has his first complete game in over 2 years. Boy, what a moment that is for him. He really climbed a mountain to get over all kinds of physical ailments, and he won it. For the Cubs, it was just one of those days. So the Giants come back to win after the Cubs had won last night. And tomorrow it'll be Les Lancaster and Mike Krukow. Giants beat the Cubs 9-2. Hammaker the winner over Maddox. We'll be right back after this.